This morning, Chicago Bears middle linebacker Roquan Smith expressed his desire to be traded from the organization that drafted him 8th overall just 4 years ago. He stated that he believes the new front office doesn't value him and they have refused to negotiate in good faith. He put out an entire tweet that described the entire situation, and here's an excerpt from it that states, "The deal sent to me is one that would be bad for myself and for the entire linebacker market if I signed it. I've been trying to get something done that's fair since April, but their focus has been on trying to take advantage of me." The Chicago Bears are now in a very interesting situation with one of their most talented, if not their most talented player, requesting to be traded from this organization. And with the new GM here, the new coach, this is really a moment where they have to decide, okay, what do we want this team to look like in the future? Do we want to spend lots of money on a player who has been one of the more solid players drafted here in the past few seasons, being the 8th overall pick back in 2018? They have to decide if they're going to pay him or if they're going to decide to trade him and get some draft capital. And considering they are, I would say, and what most people agree with, is a rebuild, maybe there's a part of them that the reason they haven't decided to pay Roquan Smith up to this point is because they want to get some kind of draft capital for him if they don't see him, in their plans for the future. And so Roquan Smith this entire offseason has been trying to get a deal done and trying to negotiate with the Chicago Bears. And the thing that's sort of interesting about this situation is the fact that he doesn't have an agent. So he is representing himself. And so I think when we look at that aspect, his tweet this morning could be a way to try to get some leverage in this situation, in this contract negotiation, because he doesn't have an agent doing that for himself. So him putting this out there really puts the front office in a situation where, there are probably going to be lots of fans, lots of Bears fans that may turn against the organization if they don't want to bring back, one of the top players here. And so I think because of this, he did say he wants to be traded, and he expressed, he thinks they're trying to take advantage of him when it comes to the contract. But at the end of his statement, he did say this. He said, "I haven't had the chance to talk to the McCaskey family, and maybe they can salvage this. But as of right now, I don't see a path to the organization. That path back to the organization I truly love." So he leaves a small window open that says, okay, maybe if the family, who owns this place gets involved, maybe I could come back. And so he's really played a strong hand, and maybe he actually wants to be traded and there is a low likelihood of him returning. Or maybe he's saying to himself, I'd be fine if I was traded because another team would value me more, but I would also be fine to come back to Chicago if they're willing to pay me, what I think I deserve. And so I think when we look at Roquan Smith and how he's played the past few seasons, he's definitely been one of the better off-ball linebackers in the NFL. We take a look at some of his stats. Second most tackles for no gain or loss with 391 in the past few years. Fourth most sacks with 15, and he's been very, very good when it comes to coverage at the linebacker position. In this offseason in the NFL, we have seen lots of stars try to, leverage their way to getting a contract. We saw Kyler Murray unfollowing the Cardinals, doing tons of stuff like that to try to put the Cardinals in a situation where they had to come in and pay him. We saw DK Metcalf hold in Seattle and sort of force his way in there. They gave him a contract. We saw it with Deebo Samuel as well. There are all these ideas of, okay, maybe this player is going to be traded, and all that stuff was sort of played up to get them those contracts. And so maybe for Roquan Smith, who has been holding in here for the past couple weeks at training camp, he's been there, but he hasn't been taking part in the practices. Maybe this is him pulling a DK Metcalf, pulling a Tyler or a Deebo Samuel, trying to get his money, trying to get his contract. And so I think that if I'm the Bears front office, I think that it would make sense here to come in and pay him as one of the top linebackers, because I think that if you come in your first year in the organization and you decide to get rid of one of the best players who has stated that he feels like he's being taken advantage of, he feels like they're not making fair offers to him, I think with him going out the door, it just doesn't look great for this organization. I do think, though, that winning solves all problems. So if this organization is able to come in and eventually start winning, by getting draft picks for him, maybe, doing different things to make this organization better, I think people would forget about it. But in the meantime, I don't think it's a very good look for the Bears right now with this current situation that is going on. So I'm curious to see if they're going to come in and say, okay, fine, we'll pay you. We don't want this drama to happen in our first year here. We don't want to push away a player who's one of the best on this team. Maybe they cave to his desires and pay him. Or maybe they say, you know what, we don't see you here in this future. We don't want to pay you that much money. We don't think you're worth that. And if they want to do that, maybe they will do that to get some more draft capital to continue rebuilding this roster. But it's going to be a very interesting year for Chicago because I think when you look at this offense, Justin Fields coming into his second year, there are big question marks here, and I don't think this organization did that much to help him not using either of their first 2 drafts on a wide receiver. Of course, they came in a little later and did that, but they have some talent, Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery, but who knows what's going to happen here. It's definitely going to be an interesting year and an interesting situation as this organization tries to sort of rebuild itself and get back to being one of the more talented teams here in the NFL. But that is all I wanted to cover today. If you guys have not subscribed and you want to see more NFL news, NFL content like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I have another channel where I break down the Packers. That's my main channel, but I started this channel to cover other things around the NFL. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.